When you sell your business, do you want it to work out well, be simple, you be in control, get the results you want? Or do you want a big, complicated mess with a million different lines going in a million different directions, not being able to keep track of things, losing control of things, and not getting the result you want? Tough question, right? The next 5 minutes, I want to walk through three primary concepts or three call it categories of concepts to think about and to pursue when selling a business, and the specific tactical elements beneath each that we focus on when selling businesses to avoid a mess and to create the outcome that people want. I'm Arthur Petropoulos. I'm the managing partner and president here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market investment banking firm selling companies and finding capital for companies generating $1 million to $20 million a year in pre-tax earnings or EBITDA. So let's break these three categories down. Category one is narrative. What is it that you want to tell people? You want to sell your business. You have to educate people. What are the three things you want to talk about? Those are going to be 3 P's. People. Stick figure here. Process. Let's say that's a gear from a machine. Use your imagination, right? Process and product. We're going to make this a box, a thing in a box, right? But it could be a product, service, offering. People, process, product. Let's start with the product. What pain do you solve? Don't tell me what pleasure you create, how you make people's lives wonderful. Tell me the pain that you prevent, the problem that you solve, and that will be the product that you have or the service that you offer. Next, the process. Break process into 3 things. Sales. How do you get people to buy the thing that you have? Execution. When they buy it, how do you do the thing? How do you provide the thing that they are buying? Third, operation, ops. How do you hire people? How do you fire people? How do you pay people? How do you pay your taxes? How do you make sure everything happens in a business that's supposed to happen to support the sales and the execution? And lastly, people. Who are the people? What do they do? What are their roles? How do you make sure that you don't have any single points of failure? How do you make sure you don't have people doing nothing? Right? That's narrative. People, process, products, within process, sales, execution, operations. Now moving over to section 2, now audience. Remember, people buy businesses because of 3 things: fundamentals, access, capabilities. Fundamentals, your EBITDA, your revenues. Access, think of this as a map, your geography, your demographic, your geographic, right? Where do you do business? What end market, industry vertical do you have access to? Your capabilities. What do you do better than everybody else? Right? Let's just make an arrow pointing upward. Everyone's here, you're better at something. So if you want the audience, look at the fundamentals, the access, the capabilities, and say, who is missing this stuff? Who is looking for building up purely revenue or EBITDA? Who is missing a certain industry, geography, demographic, geographic, right? Who is missing a certain capability? Oh, this widget company makes things, they don't clean things, they make things, they don't service things, they make these things, they don't make those things. That's a capability. Access, they sell it to everywhere in the country except here. They sell it to everyone in the world but here. They sell it into these 3 industries but not this industry. That is access. Where are they missing access? And fundamentals, everybody wants to get bigger. So if you find someone that's doing a bunch of something and wants to do more of it, and you have the fundamentals that they want or that they desire to aggregate, that will be interesting to them. So just reverse engineer that. Now, it's easier said than done, and that's why you need bankers like us to go out there and trawl for Atlantis and find all of these things and map these things out, and people that we have relationships with, and kind of reach into the web of the world to find this. But that is fundamentally at its core audience. No way we're going to hit 5 minutes here, but nonetheless, the process of selling a business. You might have the right things to tell people. You might have the people you actually want to tell it to, but how does the process actually work? What are the keys to it? When you want to reach out to everybody, so you want to be proactive, not reactive. You want to be reaching out, not waiting for people to reach to you. Don't just send stuff to a big mailing list. It's not 1986 anymore. You need to find the people. Again, going back to here, find the people that are missing things. Find the people that are missing the puzzle pieces. Reach out to them. Tell them about it. Don't tell them the world's longest story. Don't tell them about the industry that they already know the ins and outs of. Tell them about what you have. Why is it special? Why should they want it? Now, in addition to being proactive, not reactive, that's a nice concept. But what does that actually mean? You want to be reaching out directly, but directly to who? Well, think again about the audience that you want to reach out to and say you want to be selective while at the same time having volume. So that's the balance of an outreach, right? On one end of the balance of the scale, you have selectivity. On the other end, you need volume. If you go out and you want to meet a spouse, you have to be selective about quality. However, you need to speak to sufficient volume. If you speak to 5 men or women about dating, you could have luck of the draw that they just don't like you, that you're just not appealing to them. If you talk to 200, you're going to know if people don't like you, there's probably a good reason. Now, I'm not going to be a dating coach any further, but the same is true in business. You need to be selective. However, you need to have sufficient volume to eliminate the randomness of a data set. So in our case, we like to reach out to about 250 parties on every sale, not 10,000 people in the mailing list, not 10 people that we have in our Rolodex and, hey, maybe they're interested. Sufficient volume to eliminate randomness, yet selective to make sure that they are missing a puzzle piece, to make sure that we are solving pain, not just offering some magical cupcake that could be wonderful. Now, next is discretion. And so, trying to think of a library, right? Something that has to be quiet. You have to do all of this, right? So you have to have sufficient volume and be proactive, but at the same time be quiet. Now, how do you do that? Well, you sequence things anonymously. Reach out to people and tell them, I have a thing that I want to sell. I'm not going to tell you the name of it. I'm not going to tell you all the specifics, but let me give you a high-level overview of it. If they say, I don't know, could be interesting, maybe, probably not, you don't want to talk to them. Don't even bother going further. Right. But if someone says, wow, that could be interesting, I really want to know more about that, well, then that's something that we do want. And lastly, in parallel, right? So again, proactive, selective, yet at sufficient volume, discreetly, yet how do you do it in a way that actually gets done, that you stay in control, that it all stays neat and tied up? Well, you do it all in parallel. You reach out to all of these people. Let's just draw parallel lines instead of spelling poorly with the mouse. But you get the point. Everyone has to be running at the same pace. Everyone has to be racing. People think, oh, this person's really interested. We'll let them run ahead of the race. It will cause a problem. They will get ahead and get frustrated that they are, ahead and waiting for everybody else. They'll give you an offer and put timelines on it, and you have to try to meet those, and you're rushing other people that might be good prospects. Leave them on the same pacing. If someone wants something, if it solves a pain for them, they will understand the process. Again, if you are clear about the process, if you communicate it in a way that they understand it and they say what the next steps are, you'd rather people sulk a little bit, but they'll still do what you need them to do, as opposed to just letting everybody run wild. You say yes to everyone, you're saying no to yourself, right? It sounds like therapy jargon, but the reason is, if you don't keep everyone in control, you are just going to make a mess for yourself. And so this is our 5-minute overview in 12 minutes of how to keep control and how to keep the business exit process or the M&A process from becoming a mess. It breaks down into 3 categories: narrative, audience, process. Within narrative, people, process, product. Within process, sales, execution, operations. Audience, fundamentals, access, capabilities, who's missing them, reverse engineer the missing puzzle piece. Process, be proactive, be selective, yet at sufficient volume to eliminate randomness, be quiet and discreet about it, not letting people know who you are representing or who your company is until you know that they're really interested, upon which then you probably want them to sign a non-disclosure agreement as well, and have everyone racing in parallel. Does this sound like a complicated exercise in its entirety? Sure. Any of these individual pieces of it terribly complicated? No, but it all has to be done well. Everything in the sale of a business has to be done at 90% or better, or else you will fail, and nothing can be done worse than that. So you don't have to be shooting 100% from the free throw line, but you got to be doing really, really good at every single variable. And so again, it's not a magical list that no one knows about. It's a fairly overt list that nobody does well, because it has so many different elements that must be done well. But that's the overview. If you want to understand the concept of selling a business, how do you keep control? How do you keep it from being a mess? Here it is. Hope the week's going well for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. Look forward to seeing everyone next time.